Hi guys, today we're going to talk about all the books that I want to read in April. March was a very ambitious reading month, so I'm trying to make my April reading a little more reasonable. I don't know if I achieved that, but we shall see. So starting off with arcs, we have one this month, and that is In the Lives of Puppets by TJ Klune. This comes out April 25th, I believe. This book is about a sort of family of androids and a human named Victor who live in the woods, and Victor one day finds and salvages this robot named Hap and finds out that Hap used to hunt humans and that endangers the lives that they are currently living in their safe little bubble, and drama and excitement ensue. I really like TJ Klune's writing. It's a very nice mix of like cozy and very emotional. So I'm really looking forward to this one. I've read two of his previous releases, The House on the Cerulean Sea and Under the Whispering Door, and really enjoyed them. So I have a feeling I like this one too. This is sort of like a Pinocchio retelling, but with robots. So I'm very curious to see what that looks like. Then we have some sequels, and a couple of these are a little contingent on whether or not I finish the first book in the series this month. I'm filming this a little bit early, so these are a little up in the air, but if I don't finish the first books, those will roll over into April. So starting off with Laini Taylor's Days of Blood and Starlight, this is book 2 in the Daughter of Smoke and Bone series, and as of right now, I have not gotten to that one, but I do have the audiobook and I do want to read that pretty soon. So I'm really hoping to get to the first book this month so I can pick up this book next month. I love Laini Taylor's writing. It's so enchanting. I don't know what this book is about because they haven't finished the first one yet. I know the main character is a young woman named Koru, and I believe she lives in Europe. She's got blue hair, and the love interest has angel wings, but I don't know if he's an angel in the traditional sense. So I don't know the specifics, but I'm sure I'll love it. I really loved the Strange the Dreamer duology, and I think this is also going to be a lovely time. Then there's book 2 in the Mistborn series, The Well of Ascension. I haven't gotten this one yet because it's a little expensive for the hardcover, and I didn't want to buy it until I finished book 1. Book 1 is on my TBR for this month, much like Daughter of Smoke and Bone, so if we get to that one and finish it, book 2 is up for April. Again, not sure of the specifics of the plot for book 2 as I haven't finished book 1 yet, but I know the gist of Mistborn, which is one of Brandon Sanderson's most popular works, is we follow a character named Vin, and she's kind of like an outcast, roguish character, but she like belongs into this group of other roguish characters. And this is set during the aftermath of like a Dark One coming to power and taking over the world. I'm not entirely sure what the plot is. I know there's a magic system involving metals, so curious to see what that looks like. I have read a couple of Brandon Sanderson standalones at this point and enjoyed them, but haven't been blown away. So I'm hoping Mistborn is like hooks me and that I won't be able to put this series down because I do really want to get to it. Then we have the second book in the Raybearer duology, Redemptor by Jordan Afueco. I read Raybearer this last month and absolutely loved it. I thought the world building and magic systems were so cool, and I really found myself very endeared to the main character Tarasai, and I really want to see what her journey looks like in this second book. I'm really loving duologies lately. I just love the sort of like boom, boom, done, full story told, but yeah, I'm very excited to get to this one. I don't know if we're gonna have a bit of a time jump with like the way the first one ended, and I don't want to get into the specifics of what this one is about because of spoilers, but the first book we follow a young girl named Tarasai whose mother basically had her in order to enact revenge on someone from her mother's past, and Tarasai learns about this and is very conflicted between like her feelings and love for her mother and this duty that she has that she doesn't want to do. So I thought that was a really interesting tension. Again, the magic in the world building is really interesting. Overall, I just thought it was a very imaginative and engrossing YA fantasy story, and I'm really excited to see how it wraps up. Then we have the third and final book in the Saints of Steel series by T. Kingfisher, and that is Paladin's Hope. The first one, Paladin's Grace, really blew me away, and I also really liked the second one, Paladin's Strength, so I cannot wait to pick this one up. This one looks kind of short in comparison to the other two, so I'm curious about how fast-paced this will be. I did think the second one was a little bloated, so maybe this doesn't have that problem, which would be nice. And this series follows paladins who used to serve the Saint of Steel, but then one day their god died, and they've been sort of searching for purpose ever since, with the caveat that they are also berserkers, so the saint used to sort of direct their berserkerness, and where they don't have their god anymore to sort of point them in the right direction with their powers, they're a little bit dangerous. So this one follows, I believe, Galen, who is like the most traumatized boy of all of these berserker paladins. I'm really curious to see what his love story looks like. He's been in the other two books sort of as side characters. I really enjoy him. So I think this one is like him and a mortician type character named, oh gosh, what was his name? Piper. I don't even know if we've seen these two interact, so I'm curious to see how they meet. There's also a really interesting murder mystery at the center of this series that weaves through all three so far, and it is very spooky in a very traditional sort of T. Kingfisher way, but I do like the way she writes romance a lot as well. So this series has been so fun. I'm both excited and a little sad to be wrapping it up this month. Speaking of T. Kingfisher, she has a new book coming out at the end of March called A House with Good Bones. This is like a Southern Gothic story, I believe. We follow a brother and a sister character, and I think the sister's the main character, and she gets a call from her brother saying, like, something is wrong with their mother. I think this is also a bit of like a haunted house story too. My understanding of this one is a little vague, but honestly, I don't mind going into a T. Kingfisher book like that because I'm like down for the ride. I love her writing, and the one horror story I've read by her so far, The Hollow Places, was honestly one of the most terrifying books I have ever read. I don't think it is across the board terrifying, but it like checked all my boxes, like things Lexi is scared of most. So I'm very excited for this one. I did request an arc on NetGalley and got denied very swiftly, and I'm not bitter about it at all, as you can tell, but very excited for this one. T. Kingfisher is kind of an auto-buy author for me, and I want to read this one pretty much as soon as it comes out, which is the end of March, so it'll probably fall more into April reading, but yeah, very excited. Another new release that I want to get to in April is The Magician's Daughter by H.G. Perry. I have never read anything by this author before, but this sounds really interesting. So this has a bit of like an Irish folktale spin to it, which I think is really interesting. We follow a young girl who lives on an island off the coast of Ireland named High Brazil, and it's the only home she's ever known. She washed up on its shore as a baby, and her guardian, I believe, is a magician who goes out into the world to do his thing and comes back to help raise her, and so she's never left this island. But then her dad disappears, like he fails to come back from a trip of his, and so she has to venture into the outside world for the first time to try to find him or find what happened to him. So that's all I really know about this one. I'm very intrigued. I've heard this has both Howl's Moving Castle vibes and like The Little Princess vibes, which I read an abridged version of that when I was a child, and that made me sob like nothing else. So we shall see how that goes. But yeah, I've heard really good things, and from the description and the vibes that I've heard this book has, I think this is really going to work for me. So I want to try to pick this one up in April. Then just some other random books I want to get to this month. First up, we have Martha Wells's All Systems Red, which is the first book in the Murderbot series. This first one's a little novella, and it follows a robot who refers to itself as Murderbot. They sort of override their own security systems and kind of live their life doing what they want rather than what they were programmed to do, which I believe involves watching like reality television. So I'm very curious about that. It sounds really fun. I've been getting into sci-fi lately, and I feel like a novella is very approachable, and this sounds like it has a lot of humor to it as well. Murderbot is scornful of humans, and all it wants to do is be left alone long enough to figure out who it is, which, like, relatable. So I really hope I love this. Martha Wells also has a longer book coming out this year called Witch King that I'm very curious about, and so I want to get a little taste of her writing first before I grab that one. I do tend to gravitate towards fantasy, but again, I have been feeling sci-fi lately, so I'm very excited because I know this is like a sci-fi darling at the moment. And because I love a novella, I also want to pick up Even Though I Knew the End by C.L. Polk. This is like a fantasy historical fiction, I believe, or like a noir kind of fantasy story, which I think sounds really cool and has a lot of potential to be very interesting. So the little blurb says, a magical detective dives into the affairs of Chicago's divine monsters to secure a future with the love of her life. This sapphic period piece will dazzle anyone looking for mystery, intrigue, romance, magic, or all of the above. I think this also has to do with like angels and demons, which I'm intrigued about. And I've never read anything else by C.L. Polk. I do own The Midnight Bargain, but I haven't gotten to that yet. So hopefully I like this, and maybe that'll motivate me to pick that book up as well eventually. And finally, as part of my Goodreads Want to Read backlist project, I would like to pick up Wicked Fox by Kat Cho this month. I've had this for quite some time. I think this was in my very first book haul on my channel. I got it from Book Outlet like a while ago, and I heard a lot of hype about it at the time, so I wanted to check it out, and I just haven't picked it up yet. So I want to do that this month. This was also featured in a recent video of a series that I want to get into in 2023, and I'm really hoping I'll love this. This is a fantasy YA story, and our main character is a gumiho, or a fox spirit, who I think like eats boys, but then she falls in love with the human one. I don't know if she just eats boys, actually. Yeah, okay, so she survives by consuming the energy of men. But she's also half human and has a soft spot for people. So she doesn't kill indiscriminately, and yeah, I don't know. I'm very curious about it. It kind of sounds like the setup for an anime or a manga, so I think I'll have a lot of fun with that. I just realized some of the sections have like a moon. That's fun. But yeah, so I'm thinking this will be a fast read because YA fantasy typically kind of is, but I hope I like it. I know it has a sequel, but I think it's like a soft sequel called Vicious Spirits, and I don't own that one yet. I'll buy it if I end up enjoying this one, but this has hung out on my backlist for far too long, and I just need to read it already. So yeah, that wraps up my hopeful April TBR. I am a little early to this, like I said, so some of these might be a bit of a far cry, but we'll see. I have hope that I can do this. As soon as I knock A Day of Fallen Night off my reading list, I think I can get to some of these series that I've been meaning to start and hopefully continue this month. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Please feel free to leave a comment down below. Please tell me what you're reading in April. I would love to hear it. Or if you've read any of these books, hype them up for me as always. I love to hear your thoughts. And yeah, thank you again. As always, I'd really appreciate it if you liked this video, followed my channel if you aren't doing so already. Check those social links down in the description box below, and have a lovely day. Bye.